Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Think about these words from former President Dwight D. Eisenhower. Quote, "We voice our hope and our beliefs that we can help heal this divided world." Amen. Here comes Kate Smith, and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance on a Wednesday. Good morning, everybody. Wheels, where's Kate Smith? Let her rock and roll. Oh, there we go, starting things off the right way with the beautiful voice of Kate Smith. God bless America. Good morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. Absolutely. Along with some of our great advertisers, including Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Call, get on the route service, 734-6969. Right now, let's have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Well, good morning, Mr. Bell. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, my dear friend. And I know you had to speak a little softly this morning because old George is still sleeping, so let's not wake him up. Good morning and thank you.
Oh, he's already up. If I could just a second, take a minute.
Just real fast, real fast, Don. I got to get a weather forecast in here, so real fast.
Okay, we just wanted to wish J.R. Strunk a very, very happy birthday. And hope he has a great day.
Well, now listen, is that the same J.R. Strunk that has those big cycles and helps out at all the different events?
You betcha. A better friend nobody could ask for.
I agree with you, and we will also wish him a very happy birthday. Donna, thank you so much for calling in.
You bet, and you have a great day, my friend.
All right, take care. Nice, folks. Hello, JR. Happy birthday to you. You better believe it. Weather forecast next brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South 600 west of Heyburn. Number to call, 678-3122. And they've been in business since 1979, and they have all the experience needed to help you get the right tools and equipment for your projects. And they've got everything from forklifts to lawnmowers. So check them out today. K&R Rental, 256 South 600 west of Heyburn. And right now, here's the weather.
Here's your weather forecast as we kick off another work day, and we are looking at partly cloudy skies for today, and rain showers and thunderstorms are going to be in the forecast. That's going to be kind of the mantra for today and for tomorrow. High of 85 for today is what we're looking at tonight. More rain showers, thunderstorms in the forecast with a low of 58. Tomorrow, pretty much the same thing with a high of 83. And as we get on into Friday, mostly sunny skies, getting up to 90. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Gina, thank you, and welcome back to the program today. Scotty did a great job on the weather yesterday. K&R Rental bringing us the weather this morning at 256 South 600 west of Heyburn. Number to call, 678-3122. They're open Monday through Friday, 7 to 5:30, Saturday 7 to 6. K&R Rental. Good morning, and we've got a lot of things cooking today. Wheels, if you could just turn up the feed line to me just a little bit, if you would, please. I'd appreciate that. Thank you, young man. And we've got Dave Bego on the air at 9:06. We got Paul Dreesen coming on the program this morning from the Committee for Constructive Tomorrows. Megan Barth, love that girl. She does a great job. She's going to be coming on talking about one of the most racist people I've ever seen or heard, and that's Maxine Waters. And then Larry Pratt, the executive director of Gun Owners of America, is going to be on at 10:32. So don't miss any of the program this morning. Want to say a big thank you to our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Hello, Rita and all the people over there. They open the doors at 7:30 in the morning till 5 Monday through Friday, and they do have all of your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. I don't care if you need a one single light bulb or if you need a great big cooling idea for your factory, your business, whatever, your home, they can and will help. Absolutely. And they've got all and I was going to say furnace filters. They have all the air conditioning filters for you too, so you can stay cool. Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-0459, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. You know, one of the great things in our lives, modern day lives, is that we can go to great places and eat like Denny's restaurant. I mean, you go in there and you're just like an old friend. Hi, how you doing? And they'll sit you down and then they'll give you the menu and you can, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, anytime, all the time. I mean, oh my goodness. And the menu choices, and then you get finished eating and you walk out so happy and wow, it's America's Diner. You're going to love it. I mean, whether it is breakfast, I love those pancake specials they've got, and all the other trimmings, delicious line of burgers. You're going to love it at America's Diner, 611 North Overland in Burley, and also 291 Pole Line in Twin Falls. Danny's Restaurant. You stop in and see them today. Well, I got to tell you, I watched most of the Trump rally in Ohio last night, and this was kind of funny. Did you folks pick up on this last night after the rally? After the rally was all over. Now, during the rally, the panoramic of the cameras going around the inside of that stadium, which, by the way, holds supposedly about 6,000 people. But they kind of ignored the fire laws last night, and they had an estimate that there were probably shoehorned and packed in like sardines about 8,000 people. And so many more wanted to get in. But here was the funny thing. After the rally was over, you know, they were interviewing on various networks, you know, the Democrats' response to what they thought of what Trump had said at the rally and the rally itself. And almost to a person, the Democrats, well, yeah, but it was minimal. There were only about 6,000 or 7,000 people there. They couldn't get any more in, you dolts. I mean, I do not understand the mindset of the Democrats. They couldn't have shoehorned any more people in there. There were people waiting outside hoping that they could squeeze in through the door. And then well, yeah, but there was only about 6,000 or 7,000 people there. Well, there was over 8,000. And the Democrats trying to minimize everything. It was just unbelievable. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Oh, and then last night, I don't know if you caught this or not, but I'd like your response on it. It goes in accordance with what we were talking about yesterday with health care, with Representative Fred Wood. And there was a comment made by one of the Democrats last night on television that we should, quote, give people health care. What are your thoughts about just giving people health care? I'm against it. I've stood up and I've said I'm against it from the get-go. I mean, I think you have to have a reliable, independent, individual society where we're responsible for our own wants and needs. And when you make a society that the numbers are more prominent in the gimme, I want, you give, you pay attitude, we got trouble in River City, and that's what we have trouble with now. But with the Democrats saying, well, of course, we're going to give people health care. What are your thoughts on that? Caller, I'm going to ask your indulgence. Stay with me 30 seconds. I want to remind everybody about Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. The number to call, 678-1191. They can help you get back to being you. Oh, all the exercises, sports medicine, the hydrotherapy pool, great, knowledgeable physical therapists. Yeah, if you're recovering from surgery or an accident or whatever, they can and they will help you. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation in Burley. Number to call, 678-1191. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
You get what you pay for. And if you ain't paying for it, what are you getting? There is no reason. How many years did we go without government-sponsored health care?
Yep.
Every country that has government-sponsored health care, the people are paying 40 to 50% of their wages to support it. But you never hear any of the liberals talk about that.
No, you don't. You know,
I just want to talk about how great and wonderful it is everybody has health care. Well, before Obamacare, everybody had care. And if you wanted better care, then you go get a job and you pay for it.
You know, why is it, in your opinion, have we, the United States of America, allowed this kind of slovenly, gimme, I don't want to work for it, you supply it, it's my right to have it, so give it to me attitude? Why did all this come around and when? Tell me that.
We were discussing the family reunion the other day, and my mother-in-law can't figure out why they have to go someplace so there's something for the kids to do. We have raised our children with Game Boys and PlayStations, and we have caused the problem with our children.
Absolutely.
We are buying cars for kids. My dad never bought me a car, and my kids never had a car bought for them. There may have been one at our house that they could use, but it was mine, and you better not forget it.
You know,
now everybody's buying kids cars and buying, and the kids don't have to earn anything.
Let me ask you something here, sir. I think I know who you are. I think I tell your voice, but I want to ask you something. I think you could sum up the problem with our kids and the millennials today in one 2-letter word. I'm going to give you that word, and I want you to respond and tell me if I'm right or wrong. That one word that we are not using, and that's why we have the problem, the word is no.
Well, heavens, they might throw a fit.
I didn't hear it because, Wheels.
Worried to death that somebody might not like them.
Yeah.
Well, if my child doesn't like me, well, that's just too damn bad. If you want to put your feet underneath my table, this is what's got to be done.
Oh, boy.
And if you don't want to do that, don't put your feet under my table.
I like your thinking, man. I wish there was a lot, 300 more million like you living in this country, and I don't think we'd have all the insurrection and the insubordination that we do. God bless you for your thoughts this morning. Call me again.
Have a good one.
All right. Hey, I'll tell you what, he's spot on. We forgot the word no. Oh, we can't hurt little Johnny or Susie. Why, their feelings might be crushed. Well, the neighborhood children, they have this. We better get it for our kids because they'll stand in line at the supermarket and they'll stammer and yammer and yell and scream. Oh, we've got to give it to our kids. We forgot the word no. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by. Don't forget Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center, 924 Christian Way in Rupert, number to call. And do this today for your loved one possibly staying there, 436-3200, 436-3200. They are the only locally owned and operated assisted living facility in the Mini-Cassia area. And they do make every effort to make Autumn Haven the best place. Come visit. They'd love to see you. Stop by Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center. They're small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most. 436-3200. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. You know, when I was a young man, the government paid for my insurance while I was in the Army. And when I got out of the Army, I had to buy my own insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I felt it was kind of my duty to keep insurance on me and my family all the time. I've always had it. It was a little bit expensive at times, but, you know, I was always able to keep it and pay for it. And I'm very glad I had it. And if I had to start all over again, I would do the exact same thing. I wouldn't want a government handout because I've never seen a government handout that was worth getting. It usually costs you 10 or 20 or 30 times what a good plan you pay for yourself would cost, and it doesn't cover you a tenth as good.
Yeah.
So I'm all in favor of furnishing my own insurance. I still do it. I have Medicare, but I have my own insurance as primary, and Medicare is secondary. And I'll keep doing that till the day I croak.
You know, Jerry...
That's my opinion on it.
No, absolutely. I agree with you 100%, and it's not fair. It's a slap... Wait a minute, Jerry. It's a slap in the face to the people for generations, quite frankly, that have had the personal responsibility to care and take care of their own families, work things out, and by having the option of buying their own insurance, which they did, they also helped stimulate competition with the other insurance companies, of which is lacking today because of the stupid Democratic mantra that says we want to give people insurance. Jerry, I agree with you 100%.
To you, it ends up costing you far more than if you get it yourself.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you that for a fact.
Jerry, thank you very much. I appreciate you.
You have a great day. May the Lord bless. And keep on keeping on.
Oh, thank you, good friend. Thank you, good friend. Hey, by the way, don't forget every Monday we give a dozen of cookies away from Sophie's Chatterbox at 530 East Street in Rupert. Oh, what a restaurant. Oh, what a bakery. Have you tried their maple scones? Woo! They're good. You're going to love everything over there at Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. Be listening Monday at 8:30 for our trivia question. You might win a dozen cookies from Sophie's. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Well, good morning again, Mr. Bell. You know, when did we have to start giving everybody something? Whatever happened to working for what you get? My kids never got a car. If they did, they paid for it themselves, and they had to pay for the upkeep and the insurance. I never, and I know we don't say no enough, but, you know, we've done the same thing with our grandchildren. If they want something, sure, we'll give it, get it for them, but they have to earn it.
Yep. You know, here's the thing, Donna. You know as well as I do, and you and I and George and Deanna have talked about this. You go anywhere around this area, and there are employers that are begging for people to come to work. There are jobs out there. There are options available for employment to better their situation. So if you have that kind of a job market, and yet people want things given to them, gee, Donna, I think the bottom line is pretty obvious. People are doggone lazy.
Well, they are. And, you know, these liberals who think that we have to pay for everything, why don't they pay for it? They're using our tax money. They're getting rich. And we're living on donuts and hot dogs.
Yeah. When this this Democrat last night on the air, I think it was Adam Schiff from California, but I don't want to be held to that because I was not looking at the screen at that time. But when they said give people health care, I absolutely stopped dead in my tracks, walking from the living room lazy boy to the kitchen, and I thought, you stupid, stupid man. That is the problem in America today. We give, and nobody has the personal responsibility to work for it.
Yeah, I totally agree. You know, what we need to do is get back to the old-fashioned way of living. If you need something, save for it. If you want something, work for it.
You know, Donna, at the end of the program every day, I always say, and a lot of people misconstrue what this means, I always say the way things were are the way things ought to be. And think about it. And jobs and working and personal responsibility, family responsibility, that's the way things should be.
I totally agree with you. There's no other explanation.
All right, Donna, thank you for calling back.
You're very welcome, and you have a wonderful day.
I will. God bless you. Thank you so much. Caller number 2, I'll be right there. I got to tell everybody about a great country county fair, and that's going on at Lincoln County Fair and Rodeo in Shoshone. My goodness sakes, they're off and running. Today they're going to have a goat show at 9 o'clock, an old goat show. George, get up there. And they're going to have a ranch rodeo tonight at 7 p.m. Tomorrow they're going to have Intermountain Professional Rodeo performance at 8 p.m. Saturday the same way, and Friday, the same way. Saturday, they're going to have the United Truck and Tractor pulling. Ooh, exciting. All of this from a county fair that says from pioneer days to modern ways. You better get on up to one of the greatest country county fairs around, Lincoln County Fair and Rodeo in Shoshone. Lots and lots of fun. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
You know, this European way of Medicare, or whatever you want to call it, social medicine, I call it, and look at the people who come to the United States because they need a heart operation or they need something like that because of the waiting list. Can you imagine what it would be like if we had free health care for everyone?
Yeah.
Be able to see a doctor.
Yeah.
Doctors wouldn't want to work, and so we'd have fewer doctors. It just really would cause a big problem.
Yeah, you know, there's always going to be the bleeding heart liberals out there that are going to say, oh, yeah, Zeb Bell, you made enough money so you can afford your health insurance. Wait a minute. Stop right there. Close the door, sit in a chair, and listen to me. Number one, the reason I could afford my own health care is because I had a job and I worked hard. Not only a job, but multiple jobs. And I am sick and tired of the lazy, irresponsible people in our society saying, gimme, 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 it's a right. Damn right, it is not a right. There you go. I'm sick and tired of providing for people that will not work. However, there are people in our society that are absolutely physically challenged, that can't work. We need to make allowances for them. But for the deadbeats in our society, you know as well as I do, Keith, we can't keep giving and giving and giving.
You know, there's a doctor back, I think it's in Omaha, Nebraska or somewhere, where he started a program where a family would pay $50 for each member of the family each month, whether they needed the service or not, and it was always there. And it's worked so well. I don't know what it would be like under catastrophe, like a heart operation or something like that.
Yeah.
That seemed like such a good idea. And I would even be willing to do that, because I'm on Medicare, but my supplement alone is $265 a month.
Yeah, I mean, when I hear this...
I'd gladly pay $50.
When I hear this absolute irresponsible speech by the Democrats and others that say, well, yeah, we need to give people this. We need to provide people this. I'm sitting there going, bunk, I worked all my life for it. I paid my own way. I didn't have a silver spoon handed to me. You didn't either, as did probably 99.9% of my audience listening right now. And I'm sick and tired of this gimme, gimme, gimme attitude that's being purveyed by the Democratic Party just for no other reason than to try to get votes to keep them in power. That is stupid.
You know, that gentleman that called first, and he said, you know, he never bought his kids cars and stuff like that. I admire that man because he taught the principles that we should all live by.
Amen. Keith, I always appreciate your calls. I got to do a commercial break, but I really thank you for your ideas this morning. Thank you. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, what do you think about this gimme, gimme mentality? And then the Democrats are even saying, well, yeah, but you know, like last night they had this young, I forgot his name, from another guy from California. Well, yeah, we should give the illegals health insurance too. Well, we're all in the same country together. What? Of course they're all here in the same country together because they illegally came in and barged in on us. Oh, pass the deodorant. I'm getting nervous. Hold on, caller. I'll be right there. Barry Equipment and Rental, 3 locations, South Lincoln and Jerome, Addison Avenue West and Twin, and, of course, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Whew, they have all the equipment to get the job done right. Bobcat Excavators. I have got to get with Juan over to Burley and get my Bobcat excavator up here. I got a whole bunch of things to do. I know there are naysayers in the audience saying, Zeb with a Bobcat? Look out. No, now be nice. Anyway, they've got all the equipment rentals. They've got all the retail equipment sales. They've got the Walker lawnmowers. Ooh, 0% interest for 48 months. Better get there. Barry Equipment and Rental, South Lincoln and Jerome, Addison Avenue West and Twin, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Barry Equipment and Rental. Caller, good morning.
Yes, sir. You know, with the insurance and the price of Obamacare, how high it has risen and how high the deductibles are, I cannot understand how an insurance company can't make money. How they're going broke. You figure it out.
There's
paying $1,000 or $1,500 a month.
Yeah.
And you got a $6,000 a year deductible, which means most families won't even get through the deductibles.
Yeah. Doug, there has been a great minimization of competition in this country. You know that. You and I have talked about it in the past. And when you take away the competition, whether it's an insane deal like taking scoreboards down at a Little League game, or whether it's the competition against companies via their programs and how they can make it more palatable for people to buy theirs over somebody else, when you take away competition in a free society, you have minimized the market and you're stuck with what you got, buddy.
Exactly. Yeah, and when you have a third-party purchase, which means the third party buys it with someone else's money and doesn't have to consume it, they don't give a dang what the cost is or how good the quality is.
You know, what makes me so upset is I sit in this office and I read all these stories, these absolutely brain-twisted stories from the liberals about giving people this and providing people that and making sure that we can do this for them in the future. Stop the bus for a minute, Doug. Really, you and I are pretty close to the same age bracket. How much gimme, gimme, gimme did they work for in our life, or did we even ask for it?
We didn't. We worked for it. You know, and I was one of the lucky kids. My dad bought me a car when I was a freshman in high school. It was $100, but I worked my rear off on the farm for no wages, just room and board. You know, so that was part of his payment to me for what I did on the farm to help make the farm successful.
Yep. I remember my first car, Doug. It was a 1957 Ford, and it was rusted from stem to stern, and I bought it. I paid for it out of my money that I made at NASCO, an agricultural supply company, and I was proud of it. I laid down $125 for that piece of rust, and it was my car.
Well, mine was a 49 Chevy Deluxe. 3 on the tree. You know, we need to get back to personal responsibility.
Amen. Hey, God bless you, man. Thanks for your call. I got another one waiting. Thanks.
Yeah, remember, let's take care of our seniors.
Absolutely.
And if we can, donate to that website to help those 13 servicemen that lost their life, help their families.
Absolutely. Doug, thank you, my dear friend.
bless.
Thank you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Oh, is that us?
It is. Go ahead, please.
Well, Deb, you probably know me, and I know a lot of your callers, and a lot of them they're talking double talk because most of us are on public health with Social Security and Medicare, and that's the long and the short of it. And we're going to buy this fine, and I don't think any of your callers, including myself, are going to give it up.
Well, wait a minute. Whoa.
I just wanted to say that, let's tell the truth. We got 25%, something like that, of this country that's already on single payer, and it pays 80% of everything. If you want to insure the other 20%, you can buy an additional policy, and it's not very much.
Wait a minute. You made a statement. Hold on just a second. I want to make a statement back to you. When you mentioned Social Security, I get a little bit riled when people say that is an entitlement and I'm living on it. No, I'm not living on Social Security. You can't live on Social Security. I paid into it since I was 14 years of age. Had I been allowed to put that money into a private enterprise plan by myself, I'd be probably laying in a beach in Tahiti someplace having somebody serve me Mai Tais. But that is not an entitlement. That's the money that I worked for, and I take a great exception to that being called an entitlement.
Well, I do too, but I didn't talk about Social Security. I was on the other side of it. I take 15.3%. But I'm talking about Medicare.
Well, you had mentioned Social Security in your opening part.
Well, Medicare and Social Security, when we send the check in every month, as an employer, it's all one check. 15.3%.
But the point is, when you reach an age of retirement in this country and you've put forth your money for the government to play with and lose like a very poor poker hand, I maintain these are not entitlements. I've earned everything, and you have too, because you worked hard for your family. You weren't a deadbeat. You weren't destitute waiting for the government to bring you a check or hand you a bunch of bonbons on a television set that you're sitting watching that was paid for by somebody else. I am sick and tired of the leeches in the society that can work and won't work, and that's why we have the problem today.
Well, I agree with all that. I didn't call to talk about that because you and I both know there's a lot of ways to do it better.
Absolutely.
Lots of ways. But the truth of the matter is, there's a large segment of this country, myself included, and you not very long from now, that are going to be on the government insurance, and we're going to take it, and I took it. I'm glad I did, and I'm glad I've got it.
But you will admit to me, sir, that when you create a society like the Democrats are wanting for no other reason than trying to garner votes for their platform and their offices, when they say we've got to give the people health care or give them this or give them that, you've opened up a society that absolutely is going to be dependent on the government, and they're going to be a dumbed-down society to where the government can run rampant and have complete control.
That's true. That's all true, and but that's not what I was. That's not what I was talking about. That's something else.
No, I agree.
In fact, there's a bunch of us right now that are on the single payer, and we like it.
Okay. Sir, I appreciate...
That was my point I wanted to make.
No, and I appreciate your call. Every time you call, you always are very thought-provoking, and thank you. God bless and have a wonderful day, and call me again. Thank you.
I'll see you later. Okay,
Thank
bye-bye.
you, sir. Nice man. And but I'm looking at this thing, I guess, from... and I am old enough, by the way, to that gentleman. Unfortunately, I don't know if I want to tell you how old I am again or not, but man, alive in October, I'm going to turn another decade, and you know what I did? I got to tell you this real quick, and then we'll take some more calls. On the 4th of July, I went down and I bought a whole bunch of fireworks. I did. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to have maybe the grandkids over here and everything, and we'll set off the fireworks. Well, as it turned out, I think Deanna and I probably lit about 2 or 3 sparklers and maybe one of these little whirly gigs out in the driveway. And I thought, wait a minute, I'm going to stop. I'm going to save the fireworks for my birthday in October as I go into a new decade, and we're going to have one heck of an evening. I'm going to save the fireworks for my birthday. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I know I'm selfish, but I thought I'll put that new decade in with a bang. Speaking about a bang, did you hear that an Iranian gunboat, and I saw the video on this, Iranian gunboat came within 100 yards of one of our battleships over in the Middle East? And I am really tickled that the captain and his crew, they didn't waste any time. They let the Iranians know with a barrage of machine gun shots across their bow that maybe these little mustachioed Iranians better leave Dodge City in a hurry. And they did. I love it. I love it. They fired about maybe 40, 50 rounds over their head, and some of the irksome Iranians, it got their attention, and it was funny. The wake of their boat leaving was going at a high rate of speed. Good for the captain. Good for us, the United States. Not going to take any garbage from those camel jockeys that want to create more problems. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And somebody will come up and say, oh, well, they could have incited a war. So you're going to let these other guys just run all over you? No, you punch the bully in the nose. And the bully goes home. Don't forget Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids with the lovely Dr. Christine Pickup. And they're still in the middle of their Sounds of Summer, to where you can win the grand prize of $500 off a pair of mid-level or premium hearing aids. Check out all the clues on their scavenger hunt. And don't forget all the great, great things that are going on over there. Because as a certified audiologist and independent business owner, Dr. Pickup will never use deceptive advertising to sell a hearing aid. No, she knows her business, and she absolutely can and will help you. Call for an appointment today at 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, right across from the Minidoka Emergency Room. Caller, good morning. You're on. Oh, we got to do the weather. I almost forgot. Caller, I'll be right with you. The sponsor of the weather, of course, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Zeb, you're all discombobulated. Here's Gina with the weather.
Here's your weather forecast as we kick off another work day, and we are looking at partly cloudy skies for today, and rain showers and thunderstorms are going to be in the forecast. That's going to be kind of the mantra for today and for tomorrow. High of 85 for today is what we're looking at tonight. More rain showers, thunderstorms in the forecast with a low of 58. Tomorrow, pretty much the same thing with a high of 83. And as we get on into Friday, mostly sunny skies, getting up to 90. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
I appreciate it. And don't forget Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids at 1218 9th Street, Unit 2 in Rupert. Number to call for an appointment today for a hearing screening. Don't you dare put it off. 312-0957. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, I just got a book sent to me that you have got to read and possibly get the man on the radio because he's an excellent writer, and he is a senator in the U.S. Senate from Nebraska.
All right, Doc, tell me who it is.
Ben Sass.
Oh, okay.
The Vanishing American Adult.
Okay.
Our coming-of-age crisis and how to rebuild a culture of self-reliance.
Okay, now hold on a second, Doc. Vanishing American Adult, is that the title?
Yes.
Okay. I will call right after this program, and I think I know the person that is handling some of the advertisements for his book, now that you mentioned his name, and I will go through her to try to get him booked in the next couple of days.
He is quite a man. He was raised on a farm. He said that he had to grab a hoe when he was 7 years old and go out and hoe weeds out of the corn. He also got to detassel corn, and he also got to rope beans. So he learned how to work when he was quite young. He is a federal senator, but he lives in Nebraska and commutes back and forth every week.
Right.
He has 3 children, and they're all homeschooled.
You know, let me ask you something, Doc. You've called into this program for a long time, and quite frankly, you're very blunt and to the point, which I appreciate and respect. But you've gone through the school of hard knocks as much as anybody has. What do you think about this idea from the Democratic Party? Well, we'll just give people health care.
You've got to go back and study economics. That is socialism or communism, whatever you want to call it. It's an ism, which is a joke.
I agree. I hope you and your wife and family are doing well. God bless you for your call as always. Thank you, Doc. Take care of yourself.
We all got together last week for our 50th anniversary, and the whole family was there, all 27 of us.
Your 50th anniversary. Deanne and I are going to be celebrating 40... Boy, am I put on the spot all of a sudden, Doc. 40... Wait a minute, hang on. 47 this year. Woo, baby, I almost messed that one up. Thanks, Doc. God bless you, man.
Okay, bye.
All right. Is that right, 47? Or is it 46? Oh, I better check that out. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Oh, my goodness, let's see what else we got here. Did you happen to see last night? I know I'm varying from some of our subject material here this morning, but did you happen to see that show called America's Got Talent last night? I was switching the channels, and I was going from a news story to a baseball game and then back. Hey, hold on, caller. I'll be right there, I promise. But they had the funniest act, and believe me, I like to laugh. I mean, I enjoy a good old belly laugh. Well, there were 4 guys that had an act, and they were dressed up like Dorf. Remember Tim Conway when he had that little act where they played like a midget? They did it exceptionally well. 4 of them at a time last night. It was one of the funniest acts I've ever seen. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. That Iranian thing, that's funny and all that, but after the USS Cole, I think 100 yards, maybe blowing them out of the water once will teach them not to make runs at us.
I could not agree with you more. You know, they've made themselves out to be kind of like a comic book character. We're going to go in and we're going to make waves up against the big battleship, and we're going to give them the "you're still number one" finger. They're doing all this kind of stuff, and I couldn't agree with you more. All of a sudden, I'd like to see the United States literally shoot the plug out of the boat and let them sink out there, and maybe they'll get the memo.
Yeah, maybe they can float on them towels on their heads. You have a good day.
Oh, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. I tell you what, I am fed up with the way that we as a country are being treated. Look at the lack of respect that was garnered and allowed to fester during the Obama administration. Obama did nothing. He was the most worthless president in the history of this entire country. Barack Obama, I know, I'm betting a lot on this. When the historians write all the chapters about Barack Obama, it's going to come out pretty negative about what he did and what he didn't do. And one of the big things was he tore apart the respect that other countries and leadership had for this country and put us in a bowing position. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Guess who's back in the news again? Yeah, Fat Al. Al Gore has made another movie. Yeah, an inconvenient sequel, Truth to Power. And he is absolutely... Here's what he did. Now listen to the ironic attitude of this and the absolutely oxymoron attitude of what he did. He took a film crew around the world for 2 years, and they followed him all around the globe. Now, here's a guy that says we all should live in little huts and have a donkey to take to the general store and get our groceries and walk back home. So he goes all around the globe with his jets and his film crew to film another movie called An Inconvenient Sequel, Truth to Power. Oh, I couldn't believe that. And you know, the Democrats and the lefties like Al Gore, you'll never hear them mention God or Christianity. He made a quote. He said, with Mother Nature playing an increasingly prominent role in the discussions about climate change, bit your tongues up, he never mentions God, not once. I went through and researched all the past stories I have on Al Gore with his idiotic movie, the first one, An Inconvenient Truth. Never one time mentioning anything about God or anything associated with what he thinks is climate change. It's always Mother Nature. Well, I don't believe in Mother Nature. I believe in God. And I believe, like a good friend of ours at Lunch Bunch said one time, Rodney said, God has his hand on the thermostat. Nobody else. How true. It certainly isn't the likes of Al Gore. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to say thank you to our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Wow, you know, I am so blessed to have them as our major sponsor over the many, many years, all 7 locations, and these are such nice people that really care, and boy, are they service-oriented. They really take care of you with the best in tires, all the different tread designs, all the sizes, everything you need to get where you're going this summer. Absolutely. And, of course, they've got the best in brake service with highly trained brake specialists and front-end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. People overlook batteries, but I'll tell you what, even in the summertime, you don't want to be stranded out there someplace with the old ignition going click, 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 click. You want to get up and go. Well, get where you're going this summer by stopping in and seeing Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family over in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Whew, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers, the best. Absolutely. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Please, I want to hear from you. You know, the state of Massachusetts, you got to wonder, how can they just revolt against the laws of the land, the laws of our government? Now these un-American traitor hypocrites over in the state of Massachusetts, they want to make the whole state a sanctuary state for illegals. What? This is insane. Somebody ought to squash them over there like a bug. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I'm getting back to what Doc Coleman was saying. Detasseling corn, I don't know if some people even know what that is, but I can remember that we were, even as if we were lived in the city or the farm, whatever, we could get a summer job detasseling corn. It didn't matter your age. You had to be a certain height, and I happened to qualify as a younger age because I was tall enough, but we had to be there and in town, no matter whether it was a little town or big city, whatever, and be ready to be on that bus at 5:30 because the bus was going to be there at 6 and leave sharp. And we worked all day in that hot sun and everything detasseling, and we were tickled to death if we got $1 a day.
Oh, my goodness. You don't mean to tell me, lady, that you were a young girl and somebody allowed you on a bus to go out and do hard-working labor in the hot sun. Where were the Democrats to protect you, my dear?
Oh, but we had so much fun. We didn't care whether we were protected or not.
Isn't it insane how we've taken away the work ethic and the personal responsibility to succeed in this country?
It is, but I am so blessed that at least my great-grandchildren have parents that worked, and they're learning to work, some of them on the farm, some of them building fence with their dad who was a contractor, and but I wouldn't guarantee their generation, the next one coming up to that.
You know, the work ethic has got to be coming back in this old country, because when you start saying, well, gimme, 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 I want, and the look with a tin cup to the government, we're all in a heap of trouble.
Absolutely.
God bless you. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
Right.
Nice lady right there. You know, I did a whole bunch of jobs that were ugly. I mean, the worst job I had, I think, was working for my grandfather, and I had to go back in. They dump all these potatoes in this great big pile, and I had to go back and I sacked them in 10-pound bags, and I had to carry them all from the outside to the inside of the market and the back door, and I kept that up for 8 hours every day, Monday through Friday during the summer months when I was off. And I know a lot of you had jobs worse than that, but I mean, I'd weigh them after I loaded all those potatoes in the bags by hand, and then I'd carry them all in the market, and then I'd go back out and start over again. Oh, you can't tell kids to do that today. Oh, my goodness, we'll be sued. Anyhow, let's go to the news from CBS. Old Wheels is waiting over there patiently to lead us there with a little bumper music, and we'll be back in about 7 minutes. God bless. See you in 7. My. It's a beautiful day outside. I don't know, that weather forecast calling for thunder bumpers and everything else. Whoo, I hope not. I got a lot of work to do outside. Hey, we're brought to you by, this is Zeb at the Ranch, Zeb Bell. We're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, and, of course, some of our great advertisers, like Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho,
Let's check our guest list. We've got Aunt Martha and Uncle Fred, and Aunt Jenny's coming, and we've got all the photographers taken care of. We're going to have a great big wedding out there at the park. Oh, my goodness, you forgot to rent the porta potties? Oh, you better call Western Waste Services right now, 734-6969. They're very loyal to the community and the people that they serve, and you'll make sure that you have potties for your event. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Calls are welcome in just a moment, 436-2244, because we're going to have Dave Bego on the line with us, so stay tuned for that. And I want to remind you, too, about Vicky's Country Garden. Every Monday, we have Vicky on the air with us talking about gardening and bugs and everything else that you need to take care of to have healthy produce in your garden. And right now, she's got 25% off all the perennials over there at Vicky's Country Garden. 185 South, 600 West of Paul. Number to call, 438-5663. Monday at 9:15. Vicky from Vicky's Country Garden. Don't you miss it. Going to be dandy. Always is. Want to also say thank you to Ark Animal Hospital, Dr. Bill, and the whole crew over there serving you, whether you got little bitty animals or you got the great big ones. Mixed animal practice serving you at Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street in Heyburn. Number to call, 678-1177. I'll repeat that, 678-1177. 651-688-1177, and they do have the warm hearts for the cold noses. This is season for ticks and fleas. If you see your old dog a scratching and an itching, and he might give them to you, and then you'll be sitting there with him scratching and an itching. It's dangerous. Be careful. Make sure that you take care of that. So remember, big or small, they love them all at Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street in Hebron, 678-1177. Okay, let's see. Do I have anything? I got one more mention, and then I'm going to go to Bigo. He's going to think, holy cow, come on, Zeb, shut up, would you? Anyway, I want to remind everybody about the Minidoka County Fair and Rodeo. Holy smokes, they're going to start taking entries with Kathy Lom tonight between the hour of 6 and 10 for the rodeo, the open rodeo on August 4th and 5th. And the number to call Kathy tonight for entries, 654-2462. Don't forget that, Minidoka County Fair and Rodeo. It's going to start next Monday with the big lawnmower races. Oh, my goodness. And then all kinds of events going on after that, like on Wednesday, August 2nd, they're going to have the big Lions barbecue at 5:30. Ooh, lots of good eating. And then Thursday, the junior rodeo, Friday, open rodeo, and Saturday, the open rodeo. My, they're having fun in Minidoka County. Don't forget that. Country Pride countywide in Minidoka County for the fair. Woof. Take a big breath and go inhale, exhale. Good morning, Dave Bigo. How are you?
Oh, you just woke me up. I fell asleep listening to you.
You could have said anything but that, Bigo. Come on, be nice.
Well, I just had to get you fired up so that you were on board and on tack.
I am fired up. Hey,
I listened to all your stuff. It's good. And I want to, speaking about animals, my wife and I have a small dog, and he'll be 12 in December. He's got Cushing's disease. Have you ever heard of that?
I have not.
Well, Zeb, what that does is they want to drink water all the time, and then they're incontinent. They can't control, their bladder and peeing, it's really sad. And we've got him on medication. They're trying to find the right level to slow down the drinking and the peeing and that. And you have to control it, too, because if not, it can develop into Addison's disease, which could become fatal. So I urge people to watch their dogs for that. We had never seen it before. Ours picked it up here a couple months ago.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I really am. You talk about being an animal lover. I am, and I wish that dog the best. Dave, did you happen to realize last night Trump was in Ohio at another one of his kind of post-election rallies, and the facility they had his rally in last night only held legally about 6,000 people. They bumped the numbers to where they were swelling at the seams to over 8,000. And the Democrats, after the rally, they tried to minimize it, and they said, well, he only had about 6,000 or 7,000 people there. Good heavens, they couldn't cram any more in with a shoehorn. What did you think about it?
Well, that's what the Democrats do. They try to find anything to bring people down and, make them look bad and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I've been through all that, and I understand what it is. But here's the good thing. It doesn't matter whether it's 6 or 7 or 8,000, or if it's 1,000, or if it's 100. Trump needs to do more of this across the country and get in front of the people, because
I agree.
When they get in front of people, see you in person, and they get to know who you are and feel comfortable with you, they stop listening to the press and the radical left.
That is a great summation of what the man needs to do. And, for some reason, I don't know if it's going through Trump's head with Scaramucci now as his publicity director, etc., but I honestly think what you've touched on is the way it's got to be. He can't rely on the media because they're going to absolutely be negative from the get-go, but I agree with you, and he's got to have more of those. And he's got to go to some of the smaller areas in the flyover country.
Well, that's right. And, as I found out, as I was fighting the SEIU, as I got out in front of people, whether it's customers or vendors or employees or other people, and I explained to them the truth and the inaccuracy and lies that were being put out by the union and the left that was supporting them in the press. These people woke up, and even when I was doing speeches, people would ask me questions, and I explained it to them very clearly, and I said, that sounds right, and this is what he needs to do. And I spoke in front of a group of people in New Mexico a few years ago, and I was talking about my book and talking about doing these things, and that's how you get these people on your side, whether they're Democrats or Republicans or whatever they are.
Yeah.
And I had a guy stand up. He ran for Congress in Oklahoma district somewhere, southern Oklahoma, I believe it was, or New Mexico, maybe it was. But anyway, he says, I won my district, which had been Democratic for over 12 years, and Mr. Bego is exactly right. I won because I went out and I got in front of people on their home turf. Some were large crowds, some were small. I did some in churches, I did some in other places, and arenas. And he says, people got on my side because they identified with me. They understood what I was telling them was the truth. And he says, I won big.
I could not agree with you more. Now, we've discussed the positives and what needs to be done. Let's talk about another negative and how this can be changed maybe into a positive. The problem that we have now between Trump and his Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, seems to be a festering sore, and there doesn't seem, as of this morning, a way that it is going to, if you will, subside and make it amenable to both parties. What are your thoughts about Jeff Sessions and the problem with Donald Trump?
Well, I think Trump is the one that's started all this because, back after he got elected, he basically said he was going to stay away from Hillary Clinton and the stuff that was happened or revealed during the election. He was going to move on to his goals and that. And now he's coming back pushing that, they need to investigate her and Sessions needs to investigate her and all that. And he did all this crazy tweeting the other morning about all this. And I think all he's doing with this tweeting is just getting everybody riled up and throwing ammunition out there for people to shoot him with.
Okay, but I'm going to play the devil's advocate on the other side. I don't think that Sessions should have recused himself from any of the Russian collusion charges until he went to the office of the president, sat down in the Oval Office, and discussed it with him. That was not done.
Well, I think he should have done that. That's obviously true in that. And, of course, at the end of the day, he can make that decision on his own, and then Trump's got to make a decision, and if he feels comfortable with Sessions and that Sessions is being honest with him all the time, if not, that's fine. Move Sessions out and bring somebody else in and move on. But again, I'm going back to the point that he's making a big deal out of this, and he's giving the press and everybody information and ammunition to go after him. And it just takes away from him working on the other things that we need to get done in this country.
I agree with you. And really, Dave, two adults, both in their early 70s, I believe, why can't they just take 15 minutes, meet somewhere in the Oval Office or the White House, and iron this out? I don't understand why not.
Well, and I'm the same way. And, if I have problems with people, I don't go out and bark and bite and throw tweets out there. I get a hold of the person, so let's sit down and talk, and let's work our way through this thing. And if we can't, then maybe it's time for them to move on.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, that's fine. And I've had that happen with employees and managers over the years, and we've sat down and talked, and we could come to an agreeable terms on it. And they said, "Well, I'm leaving and moving on." I said, "That's fine."
I gotta ask you about the verbiage, and Wheels, watch the feedback on these calls, please. Some of the Democrats that have been on television on the last couple of evenings, and like Adam Schiff and some of the others, have come out and said that they, the Democrats, want to, here's the key word, Dave, give people health care. Now, I don't know your attitude on this, but I'm going to tell you right now, the first hour of this program, we talked about the giving people things without having any responsibility, people not working for what they receive, not working for the benefit of their families and their future career. I am sick and tired of this mantra that the Democrats have of give, give, give. What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I heard you were kind of like a hot tea kettle on the subject earlier, so I'll try not to get you fired up.
Oh, I'm on the back burner, and it's on lukewarm.
I agree with you. You know, we have to incentivize people to go out and work hard and, you know, and move up in life and do things. And when you give people stuff, all you do is incentivize them to sit home. And it's the wrong incentive. And the Democrats do it, though. And again, this is the same thing the union bosses did with me, and as they attacked me. It's all about getting votes. You know, it's all about getting people on their side. And when they say these things, these people say, oh, that's nice, they're going to give me this stuff. And what they don't understand, at the end of the day, the Democrats that say this stuff and the union bosses that say this stuff could care less about these people. It's all about them getting people on their side, getting votes, and getting their dues money.
Yep, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Dave, really, when you look at it as a businessman, the problem with the health care, the repealing of Obamacare, the possible reimplementation of the Affordable Care Act, etc., I'm not a wizard, but I honestly believe, and I'm not trying to brag, that if you gave me a week of sitting down diligently with some people that we could discuss the issue with and come up with an A, B, C, D, etc., chronological pecking order as to how to solve the problem, I think in a week's time I could have it done. It's not that hard if they'll stop the bickering and really figure out how to do it.
Well, that's exactly right. And, you know, this health care thing is crazy, and we're going through it right now because our yearly update comes at the end of this month, and we're looking for our company, because of Obamacare, almost $1 million increase in health care. Oh,
my goodness.
And, you know, we've got to do something, and the problem is with these people in Washington is, and again, this is on both sides of the aisle, unfortunately, when they look at these things, you know, they're always looking in the mirror saying, okay, if I do this, will I get the votes to get reelected? And we got to have people in Washington that are doing the right things for the country, not for them to keep their job in Washington.
Dave, on another issue, there was a little news clip. They didn't carry a lot of this story, but in the Middle East, one of the Iranian gunships came by and tried to mock and make waves against one of our battleships. And fortunately, and I say fortunately because I believe in a get-tough attitude, the captain of our battleship said, okay, boys, that's enough. And he let go with a barrage of machine gun shots over their heads. And it must have been enough for these camel jockeys to realize, ooh, maybe we shouldn't have done what we did, and they left. I'm glad that they took that stance. But the Democrats are saying, oh, Trump and his administration and that captain, they're trying to incite a war.
Yeah, this is what they do. They go out and they try to turn the coin on the other side and lies and, you know, misinformation and stuff like that. And, you know, the only time they're tough is when they're out there insulting the other side. But the truth of the matter is, that's what you got to do with them. You got to shoot some bullets over their heads to get their attention, and that's what Trump and his administration are doing. And that's what the commander of the battleship should have done. And obviously, it worked.
One other thought, I'm very upset about the possible acceptance in this country of lawbreakers and the continuance of the idiocy of sanctuary cities. And now we have an entire state on the East Coast that's acting like a bunch of spoiled brats and defying federal law and defying anything that our Constitution stands for. The state of Massachusetts wants to become a sanctuary state. Why are we allowing this to happen?
It's crazy. And again, Zev, I'll go back. I mean, it's so simple. This is all about votes and keeping control. And, you know, we run up against this stuff in our industry all the time, and it happens in other industries too, but we just pick up a huge count across the country, and we're replacing a company that was using illegal immigrants. I mean, we have interviewed a lot of these people, and they don't pass any of the background checks or, you know, immigration checks or anything like that. And it's sad. And when we talk to these people, they are paying a set fee and being paid under the table, and they're not making as much as even minimum wage. And number two is there's no taxes or FICA, FUTA, or anything like that being taken out of their checks. And this is all across the country. We're seeing this right now. And the other side, the radical left, Democrats, they're the ones that support this kind of stuff and want these people coming in. And again, at the end of the day, it's all about votes.
I just don't understand. Dave, help me. We're both the same age, but how in the world can a state like Massachusetts, to really criticize them, how can they be so blatantly against our Constitution and our laws to the point where if this would have been 10 or 20 years ago, my goodness sakes, everybody on, I think, the House of Representatives or the Senate would have railed for Massachusetts to be thrown in the ocean. I mean, they wouldn't have allowed this.
Zeb, it's, both the Democrats and the unions are, very desperate right now because they're very concerned about what's going to happen in these next elections, and this is their whole focal point. And desperate people do desperate things, and in Massachusetts, they're concerned that it could turn the other way and go conservative, and they don't want to see that happen. So they're doing this stuff to pull these people in, and even though these people are not legal, probably 90% of the time, the fact is they'll find ways to get them in the polls and allow them to vote illegally. This has happened in states across the country. It's happened in Nevada and California and other places, and in places where they have sanctuary cities, and it's going to continue to happen because this is how they retain their spots in government.
Absolutely. Do you have any bright news or any earth-shaking good news that you want to whip on us this morning, Mr. Bego?
Well, I just wanted to throw out a couple things on the unions. The United Auto Workers is in the South is making a run in right-to-work states to try and unionize Nissan and some other automakers down there. And they're blatantly saying they want to bring down the right to work. And the unions are talking about bringing down right to work across the country because they say it's wrong. And again, this is a desperation on their part because they're losing membership, because when you have right to work, people have a choice. And in right to work states, people are choosing to drop out of the unions.
Absolutely.
And this tells you something about the unions themselves that, and I'm not anti-union. They used to be do great things, but they've kind of lost their way, and they need to wake up.
Absolutely. My Cubs are playing better baseball, and they're back hinging around the corner from maybe being in first place behind the Brewers. I should say ahead of the Brewers. But anything in sports you want to bring up this morning? Jordan Spieth played excellent last weekend, won another tournament. Wow, there are some idols that people and kids can relate to.
Well, they can, and it's great. I just wish on sports that our Colts and Pacers would get their act together, and we could see some better, victories and better seasons here the next couple of years. But as I talk to people here in Indianapolis, there's a lot of concern about where those two teams are going.
I had an interesting poll that was shoved in front of my face yesterday to where they have predicted that my Green Bay Packers will make it all the way to the Super Bowl against the team I can't stand, the New England Patriots. And unfortunately, that poll had the Patriots beating my Packers in the Super Bowl. What are your thoughts about that pick?
Well, I really think Green Bay has a good chance to make it, and the Patriots, unfortunately, they have an easy path to it, and their team does play well at times, and but as you know, I'm a Green Bay fan, so I'm all behind them.
Hey, Bay. I really appreciate it because I've got both uniforms. I've got the Colts, thanks to you, and I've got my Packers uniform. We're ready for the NFL season. Dave Bego back in Indianapolis, Indiana, great friend of this program, the author of the books, The Devil at My Doorstep, The Devil at Our Doorstep. My friend, have a great week, and we'll look forward to seeing you next Wednesday.
Well, look forward to it, and you have a great week, too.
All right, Dave. Thank you very much. Great friend, and I appreciate him being on my program every single week. I know some other great folks that are on this show, and I enjoy talking about them because they really serve the community, and that's Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. The number to call, 436-5636. Joel Heward, his family, and his staff, they are there with the flexible hours to serve you when you need them, not just 9 to 5. Always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. So please remember to give them a call. They can, and they will help you. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. The number, 436-5636. Serving you and your family, Hanson Mortuary. They are good folks. Joel Heward, always with a smile on his face. Super, super nice man. Hey, don't forget the Idaho Rodeo Hall of Fame. My goodness sakes, we're going to have a great, big, fun-filled weekend this weekend at the Canyon Crest Event Center in Twin Falls. And it's going to be starting on Friday night this week with the Tough Enough to Wear Pink, Give Cancer the Boot. A percentage of the proceeds goes to the Breast Cancer Awareness St. Luke's Foundation. $10 entry fee. Oh, a lot of fun. From 5 to 8 p.m. And, of course, we want to thank Tech Distributing, our Coors dealer. Going to be a lot of fun. And Saturday night, the 29th, Hall of Fame induction, 5 p.m. social hour, dinner at 6, and then the induction. And we're going to be honoring some great rodeo legends in the state of Idaho. Thank you, D.L. Evans Bank, our overall sponsor for this event. Thank you, D.L. Evans Banks. All of this at the Canyon Crest Event Center this weekend. Call Katie for tickets, 733-9392. Also, quickly want to acknowledge, before we get our guests on the phone, our friends at Let's Ride. Oh, boy. You know, you still got a lot of summer left. You still have a lot of warm temperatures where you can get that watercraft and get out on the streams and the lakes and the rivers and just enjoy. Well, they've got them all over there at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4, and all the four-wheelers and all the side-by-sides, all the accessories, everything you need, and to keep you running, a great service department. All there. Yep. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24, between Rupert and the World. It's true. This is where the fun is sold. While you're over in that area, you need to call ahead and make an appointment with our dear friends over at Cameron and Siemens Insurance. When you talk about life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, or employee benefits, all this coverage for protection for you, your family, and, of course, your business. They know. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, dedicated and responsive to your needs, and very thoughtful and caring. So please make an appointment today, 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance in Rupert. The professionals. Right now, let's talk to another professional, and he is the Senior Policy Analyst for the Committee for a Constructive Tomorrow. We'll ask him what that means. Here comes Paul Dreesen. Good morning, Paul. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Zeb.
You know, okay, now, all my guests that I have on the program, I always ask them what their titles and about what their job is. Give me a little explanation of what the Committee for a Constructive Tomorrow is.
We are what I would call an environmental group that focuses both on people and the planet. So we are concerned not just about environmental quality, but also the quality of life for people, especially in developing countries where their standards of living are so far below ours, but they're being held back by a lot of hardcore environmental groups, and even the Obama administration that was opposed to any fossil fuel development to provide electricity for places like Africa, where there's over 700 million people who still don't have electricity, if you can believe that in this day and age.
You know, Paul, I'm going to state my case here a little bit, and you can either agree or disagree with me. The guests are free to bombard me with anything they want. But this lunacy of solar power or wind power or electric cars, All I see is a old West frontier, kind of a false front building that's going to collapse if we lean that way. Am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. I've done some of the number crunching on this, and you can take an example not too far from you. Solar panels at Nevada's Nellis Air Force Base. 140 acres, they get a lousy 15 megawatts of electricity about 30% of the year because the rest of the time the sun's not shining. And if you go over to Arizona from there, you've got the Palo Verde nuclear power plant, same amount of land, but it generates 760 times more electricity 95% of the year. That's the kind of dichotomy you're dealing with when you're talking about wind and solar power. If you're talking about replacing all our gasoline with, say, corn ethanol, right now we get 10% of our gasoline as ethanol, and it comes from 40 million acres grown with corn. You cannot keep doing this. There's not enough land out there. There's not enough water to keep growing that corn. It still requires natural gas and diesel to harvest the corn and process it into ethanol. Go with wind, it's the same story. Massive amounts of land, massive amounts of raw materials to generate electricity 10, 20, 30% of the time. And the rest of the time, you've got to back it up with coal-fired or gas-fired power plants. Or, of course, Elon Musk is happy to sell us billions or trillions of dollars worth of batteries, and then you get into all kinds of battery problems.
You know, Paul, we got so doggone much to talk about. You and I could sit down over a cup of coffee in the morning and an adult beverage in the afternoon. But I want to talk to you a little bit about something you mentioned a moment ago, and that's the ethanol. I have had numerous people on my program over the last couple of years warn everybody about the increase in ethanol in the fuel because, quite frankly, in simple layman's terminology, it's tearing the heck out of these engines.
Yeah, it's nice for the corn farmers that are growing that corn and they've got a steady income. They want to boost that income by going to E15 instead of E10. Your small engines, your boats, your airplanes, all kinds of things have problems with E10 even. Go to E15 and a lot of car warranties are going to go kaput. And cars are you're going to get less mileage per gallon because ethanol is something like 20 or 30% lower mileage than the equal amount of gasoline. You're going to require more and more acres grown with corn. I mean, they keep talking about switchgrass and things like that, but it's never happened outside the laboratory. And we don't have enough land to be devoting to all of this. I did some number crunching for just the electricity that the world uses right now. If you were to replace all the electrical generation that we're relying on that actually works and replace it with wind turbines, you would have to have wind turbines on an area twice the size of North America.
Holy cow. Wow.
These things they're pie in the sky, utopian insanity. That's what it boils down to.
Why is the American public, why are the American people, why are they buying into such complete phony idiocy that's being perpetrated by the liberal left? Why are they buying into this with the solar and the wind and the electrical cars and all this? They must have had a tremendous PR program, more so than the other people, because, man, they're buying into this like a big carp biting a worm.
Yeah, that's a huge point and a $64,000 question. $64 million or $1 billion question, really. I think you've got the basic answer right there. The other side is so adept at driving its viewpoint. You've got an environmental industry here in the United States that's $13 billion a year. That's how much money they've got to advance their agendas. And even the guys on the other side, the petroleum guys, the car guys, they all want to buy into this for a couple of reasons. Number one, they're afraid of the big environmentalist campaigns that come and blast them pretty hard in the news media and around the Congress and legislatures. And secondly, they're trying to create some new profit centers for themselves, especially the car dealers. You can look over in England and California. The car dealers are really pushing to go electric because it'll get the environmentalist monkey off their back. They will being harassed for pollution, which is almost non-existent with modern cars, and climate change, which exists in Al Gore movies and computer models, but not in the real world outside. And I'm talking about catastrophic man-made climate change there. But you've got too many people with political agendas on a lot of money and a lot of access to the media. You've got the media on their side. It just builds and builds. The American public rarely gets the kind of information that I'm sending out, and they're propagandized basically from kindergarten onward. So a lot of problems there to try to get the facts out and make them realize that there's no free lunch here.
Absolutely.
We're going to go all renewable, wind, solar, and biofuel. You're going to be wiping out habitats all over the planet to put in these wind turbines, solar panels, and biofuel farms.
Absolutely.
Not going to be pretty.
We have a caller with a question for you, Paul, so go ahead, caller. Quickly, you're on the air.
Well, one of the things about Idaho, we're pretty grounded here. We actually have a balanced budget, and we elect Republican legislators and governors, and when things are pretty normal. But I noticed because of the Obama administration and the environmental influence throughout our government, that Idaho has somehow been coerced, and Idaho Power is the main provider of electricity in Idaho, has been coerced into putting in these solar farms. And if you drive up to Boise, I've seen two of them put in. Didn't hear a word about it. All of a sudden they're there. And they're part of our lives, just like these damn turbines. You know, nobody knew anything about it, but all of a sudden they're there. And the thing of it is we jumped 22 states in solar power, and it's costing us money to have done so. And it's not going to lower the price of electricity. And here we've got farmers. Ag is a big business in southern Idaho, from border to border. And the thing of it is these farmers that pump this electricity, pump water and electricity into the pivots, and it's costing them, and it's going to affect their bottom line. And the price of crops is low already. And this is kind of irresponsible behavior is affecting all of us. And then, you know, one more quick thing, and I know I've said too much, but this is the thing. The batteries on electric cars are so polluting and so caustic that the fact that they think this is somehow environmentally friendly is such a clock. It makes me infurious, but nobody cares. Nobody cares to find out. I'm going to hang up.
Respond to the caller, Paul. You got a lot of responding to do.
Yeah, it would take another hour to respond to all of his points, but he's on target. All these solar panels with mandatory feed-in tariffs, the cost of electricity when the sun is shining or the wind is blowing, and the utility companies are forced to buy the electricity even if they don't need it, even if they've got enough power generation someplace else. And then sometimes when you really do need the power, there's no wind blowing or sun shining, and you've got nothing coming off the panels or turbines. So it's a huge problem. I would contest the idea that the batteries themselves in the electric cars are toxic, but the components are. And trying to find a place to recycle them or dispose of them is very complicated and costly. Just getting the lithium, the cobalt, the other materials out of the ground is done in foreign countries for the most part, because we've banned mining for the most part here in the United States. And the mining is done by families, by kids. No environmental standards, no health standards, no safety standards. So I call it blood batteries, because this is coming from the sweat of people who are exposing themselves to tremendously toxic metals over in countries like Democratic Republic of Congo. And the environmentalists never even want to talk about any of that, neither do the politicians, the utilities, the media. All of that is buried, just like all the dead birds and bats, the eagles and condors and raptors of other sorts that the wind turbines are killing off. They
Absolutely.
just get buried someplace so nobody sees them and nobody's able to talk about them or get accurate information on that. So, yeah, it's a massive problem, and it's an educational problem, if above all, I think.
Paul, let me ask you this. I want to get back to the electrical grid for a moment in our conversation. You know, our electrical grids, per se, are stressed and maxed to the maximum. And where in the world are we planning on getting this extra power for everybody to buy an electric car? And then allow free charging stations. Where is all this electricity going to come from and stem from to further the point of idiocy with owning an electrical car?
Excellent point. Good example is California, where they want to ban fossil fuel, nuclear power, even hydroelectric, and yet they're going to have electric cars that are going to double the amount of electricity they have to generate every day. Good question. Where is that electricity going to come from? You're talking about massive amounts of additional electricity, and the average American home and neighborhood doesn't even bring in enough amperage to handle the extra amount of charging. So if you stick a couple of electric cars in your average neighborhood, all of a sudden you're going to have grid and power problems right there, to say nothing of the widespread grid, which, as you said, is already stretched to the maximum. So my article this past week on Tesla and its insanity and subsidy and sustainability fantasies, which was on Town Hall and CFAC.org and a number of other websites, would be a good education for people, just to give them a heads up on what's really at stake here and what's going on and the insanity of all of this.
I read your article. I have it in my hand, and you had one sentence and a couple of words that really piqued my interest. And you said, by increasing hidden taxes on motor fuels. There's the answer right there. They're going to tax the American driving public, those of us that need to drive to make a living, those of us that believe in a free society, and they're going to take that extra money and they're going to stick it into a rabbit hole called green and solar energy. Am I wrong?
Nope, you're 100% right. California just passed a $3 billion electric vehicle subsidy program on top of a new cap-and-trade law that's going to sock it to the average American. You know, I also mentioned in this article that up to now, the richest 20% of Americans got 90% of the hundreds of millions of dollars in taxpayer subsidies for electric vehicles. So it's all being done on the backs of the poor and middle class and working class families, and being billed as environmentally conscious and environmental justice. You know, the only people that are making out like bandits on this are the wealthy families and the politicians that ram this sort of stuff through, and the environmental groups that can rake in millions of dollars a year in contributions to promote this kind of insanity.
You know, Paul, let me ask you, everybody like myself included thought that if Trump became president of the United States with his administration and his gung-ho attitude about let's go ahead with fracking, let's go ahead with more drilling, let's go ahead and be a large supplier of oil to the world, including ourselves. But then when you hear these stories about these stupid, frivolous ideas of expanding more electric cars and more solar and more wind, who's winning this battle? Are we going to see the enviros and the greenies win and put the Trump administration asunder, or what's going to happen here?
Yeah, another good $1,000 question. It's hard to say. President Trump has done a lot so far, rolling back a lot of the most insane regulations that the Obama administration was ramming down our throats. So there's a lot of success there. We have a Senate that can barely even vote to have a debate on the health care decisions. They're basically dead in the water. Congress is largely useless in most respects. We've got what they've been calling the denizens of the swamp still inhabiting most of the federal agencies and trying their level best to stop anything President Trump is trying to do. So it's going to be a long-term, dragged-out battle on a lot of different fronts. The environmentalists, they're part of the whole leftist movement that wants to be in charge of our lives, our livelihoods, our living standards, our liberties, and have no accountability whatsoever for any mistakes they make or anything they do deliberately to screw somebody over.
Paul,
they want total control, no transparency, no accountability, and run every aspect of our lives. It's the huge war that we're going to be having over the coming decades, I think, here in the United States and worldwide. Who gets to make the decisions?
On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not so much to worry about, 10 being look out, disaster time, where are we on the energy scale in this country as far as tipping off towards the environmental movement that's absolutely going to be a regressive form of energy?
I think we're doing pretty well. If Hillary had been elected, we'd be in trouble. It would have been more of the same that we were getting from 8 years of President Obama. But I think we're starting to roll some of that insanity back. People expressed in their ballots the desire to have somebody who would shake things up. I point out oftentimes that over 95% of the counties in the United States voted for President Trump. So a lot of people get it, and a lot of people are fed up, and they recognize that this environmental, renewable energy, electric vehicle utopia is just a figment of people's imagination. It's just fantasy land, pixie dust. It cannot work in the real world, and unfortunately, we're all condemned to live in the real world, not in some Hollywood movie world or a computer-modeled climate or renewable fantasy land of the future.
Absolutely.
So people are starting to understand this pretty well. I think the state of the state legislatures is very good. Vast majority of them are populated by pretty common-sense people, California being a huge exception, New York being another one, Connecticut another one, and those are the places that voted for Hillary Clinton, but they're falling behind economically. They're shafting their poor and minority and middle-class families, their blue-collar workers. People are revolting, and not just the anti-Trump resistance, which is getting a lot of bad play in people's minds because they see how crazy those people are. So I think overall we're in pretty good shape. I wouldn't give it someplace on the scale of 1 to 10 necessarily, but if I were forced to, I'd say we're probably around a 7 right now, maybe an 8, but that can change.
I really enjoy having you on the program. Senior Policy Analyst for the Committee for a Constructive Tomorrow, and I'm going to have him back if he'll consent to come back. Paul Dreesen, absolutely excellent. Thank you, sir. God bless. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Glad to come back anytime.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Very, very knowledgeable man about energy and literally how we're being dragged down the toilet because of the green energy, the Al Gores, the solar, the wind, and the idiocy of electric cars. It is total incompetency and idiocy. Oh, we got to get a weather forecast on here. Zebber. You're running late. Don't forget Phillips Oakes, Goodwin, Crane and Company, CPAs that have been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area for well over 50 years. The very best of tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, bookkeeping services, retirement planning. They do this and so much more, serving you, your family, and your businesses. 2 locations, Burley and Rupert. They're waiting to serve you. Phillips Oakes, Goodwin, Crane and Company. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Here's your weather forecast as we kick off another work day, and we are looking at partly cloudy skies for today, and rain showers and thunderstorms are going to be in the forecast. That's going to be kind of the mantra for today and for tomorrow. High of 85 for today is what we're looking at tonight. More rain showers, thunderstorms in the forecast with a low of 58. Tomorrow, pretty much the same thing with a high of 83. And as we get on into Friday, mostly sunny skies, getting up to 90. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina, and brought to you by some dear friends of ours, and that's Phillips Oakes, Goodwin, Crane and Company, CPAs. By the way, Leiden Crane is very fluent in Spanish and can offer any of their services in the Spanish language. Phillips Oakes, Goodwin, Crane and Company, CPAs, serving you in Burley and Rupert. You call them today. Oh, I got time for a couple of calls, and you're welcome. Give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. By the way, Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center at 924 Christian Way in Rupert. They make every effort to make Autumn Haven the best place to live for your loved one. Might need a little extra help. That's why it is called an assisted living center. Stop by, check it out. You're invited to visit their facility anytime for tours, and they've got a beautiful backyard patio, and they have barbecues, and they go to various community events. They are the only locally owned and operated assisted living facility in the Mini-Cassia area. They're small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most. Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center in Rupert, 436-3200. Okay, and by the way, fun times going on up at the Lincoln County Fair and Rodeo and Show Shown. Holy moly, what a country county fair. And their theme from pioneer days to modern ways. What are they going to have for today? They had the goat show start at 9 o'clock. And then they're going to have the ranch rodeo tonight at 7 p.m. That is going to be fun watching, I'll guarantee you. Tomorrow, they're going to have all kinds of shows, livestock shows, and then tomorrow night, the first performance of the Intermountain Professional Rodeo at 8 p.m., and that's going to be the same on Friday. And then on Saturday, holy buckets, they're going to have that great big United Truck and Tractor Pull at 6 p.m. All of this and more at a country county fair in Lincoln County up in Shoshone. Having a lot of fun and really, really nice people. Okay, what have we got cooking for this next hour? Let's take a look here real quick. We've got Megan Barth. Boy, I love having her on the program. She is a straight shooter. She's going to be on here talking about Maxine Waters. Did you hear? If you haven't, you ought to be scared to death about this. Maxine Waters, Democrat representative from California. That kind of sums it up right there. She is considering a run for the presidency in 2020. Oh, boy, Martha, sell the property. We're leaving to Tijuana. And then at 10:30, we've got Larry Pratt with the executive directorship of the Gun Owners of America and talking about Eric Holder and others. We got a whole bunch of things coming up in this next hour. Want to remind you quickly about an annual community ice cream social. It's going to be Sunday, August 13th at 6 p.m. at the Rupert United Methodist Church, 605 H Street, and it's going to take place right on the front lawn. Holy moly, they're going to have homemade ice cream. Deanne and I love homemade ice cream and all kinds of different cakes and entertainment with David and Melissa Bowman. And above all, it's free. Free. Come on by. Annual Community Ice Cream Social, Rupert United Methodist Church, Sunday, August 13th at 6 p.m. Yeah, buddy. Going to sound like a fun time. I think that's going to wrap it up for this hour, and we're going to send it back over to Wheels, and we want to say, broadcasting from America, the greatest country in the world on KBAR, 1230 a.m., and then, of course, Zeb at the Ranch at zebbell.com on the Internet. You stay tuned. I'll be back in about 7 minutes. Oh, my. Good morning. Hour number 3, Zeb at the Ranch. And don't forget, again, the Big Idaho Rodeo Hall of Fame. 2 big nights, Canyon Crest Event Center. Friday night for the Give Cancer the Boot, Tough Enough to Wear Pink night. And, of course, a percentage of the proceeds goes to breast cancer awareness with the St. Luke's Foundation from 5 to 8 p.m. And then on Saturday night, the 29th Hall of Fame induction, 5 p.m. social hour, 6 p.m. dinner. Then the inductions. It's going to be great. Thank you. D.L. Evans Banks, around the state of Idaho, our major sponsor, along with Tech Distributing, your Coors dealer. Gonna be a lot of fun. Call Katie at the Canyon Crest Event Center for tickets, and that number, as I try to find it after I dropped it on the floor, just from I'm sorry, 733-9392. Well, welcome back. Our major sponsor, of course, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, the main sponsor of our Zeb at the Ranch program, along with some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them today, 734-6969. I have had this lady on the program before, and I find her to be very interesting, very outspoken, and I like her. And she's the founder and proprietor of ReaganBabe.com. Good morning, Megan Barth. How are you?
Hey, Zeb. Good morning. Thanks for having me back on.
Now, wait just a minute here, Megan, because I'm afraid that you have raised my ire a little bit this morning. You don't mean to come on my program this morning and intimate or insinuate that possibly the Democrats might throw as a nominee against the American public the racist, foul-mouthed Maxine Waters. Oh, say it isn't true, Megan.
Well, why not? That's really who's leading their party. When we look at the DNC chair, can you get any more foul-mouthed or race-baiting than Tom Perez? And it's interesting to watch Chuck Schumer yesterday or the day before talk about the better deal that they're proposing to the Americans. And he did so in a very nice tone, in a salesman-like way, with a slow cadence. And he said, we're going to unite our party with the LGBTQ and the blacks and Hispanics and the women, along with the working people, because we ignored the working people and our message wasn't clear this last election, and that's why we lost. Okay, now, when you pick that statement apart, they're still going to play identity politics, which is why they lost, yet they're going to weave identity politics in with a populist economic message, which I thought the populist economic message was racist. That's what they told us when Trump ran on it. And they believe that by duplicating Trump's message, but also Hillary's message of raising the minimum wage, paying for everyone's expenses, is also a winning strategy. They are so confused. I wouldn't be surprised if they ran Maxine Waters.
You know, Megan, I got to tell you that I'm going to sound bigoted and I'm going to sound like a hate monger here. So be it. I don't care. I've got big shoulders. I can take it. But as a Christian, I am very upset and incensed that the lumping together of all these different categories, like the LGBT group, etc., I don't want to be lumped with them. I don't want to be associated with them because biblically I don't believe in their acts and what they're doing to the society we live in. And I think this is where the Democrats are going to have a real pratfall, is because they're trying to lump everybody together and say they're going to provide something for everyone.
Well, yeah, but here's the kick, and this is where they continually mess up. If you are, let's say you are a gay male or a gay female, but you're a Christian or you're pro-Israel, well, you're not welcome. You're simply not welcome. See, only certain animals have certain rights, right? Some things are only good for certain people, and others simply are not welcome to their party. And let's not forget that they kicked God out of their platform, and they sued God at their national convention. God has no place in the Democrat Party or platform.
Have we got to the point in this country, Megan, and you would know this more than most people because you study this every day, have we got to the point in our country and our time in the world that we have forgotten the God-given principles that this country was founded upon and the Christian principles? Have we forgot all the moral values and the family values, and we're going to adopt something as filthy and sleazy as a Democratic platform?
No, because we continue to reject the Democrat platform. We rejected the Democrat platform in special elections and national elections. We rejected Obama's platform, the Democrat platform, whereby he lost 1,000 seats in the majority of the governorship. And so, you know, it probably looks like it's a little dire, but the mainstream America, even though Christianity is falling, I do believe that the principles of Christianity are adhered to. So whether or not people identify as a Christian or not, I do think that the golden rule, right, is part of the American fabric. Integrity, duty, honor, country is all a part of the American fabric. We aren't born socialists, and really this is what this fight is about, this fight for our country. It is the fight between socialism and capitalism. And we are born with a capitalist spirit. And so I think that, and when you look at millennials, for example, and they're not necessarily trustworthy when it comes to showing up at the polls, but if you want to talk about a principle of life, and that is the abortion issue, more millennials are becoming pro-life. Actually, a near majority of millennials are pro-life. So our platform shouldn't change. The Democrats can adopt the most radical platform of abortion on demand, which is what they have now. They can adopt that, and that's not going to appeal. But economic issues, if we stick with economic issues, and if Donald Trump can get this economy running again at a 3 to 4% GDP, because everyone's been kind of just lulled into this acceptance that the new normal is a 1% GDP. Well, that's never happened in 40 years of our history until Barack Obama came along. And so if Donald Trump can get this engine, this economy, running again and people back to work and full-time jobs will be more plentiful when they repeal Obamacare, then I think that the strong economic message wrapped in Christian principles is going to work just fine.
You know, but one thing, and I don't mean to kind of beat a dead horse here, but I want to ask you this. I think one thing that is lacking in our society today is a respect for personal responsibility to do things on your own, get a job, raise your family, be responsible for your own bills and what you want to buy. And then on the other side, you have a Democratic mantra, and they said this as late as last night on the news, where some of the Democrats are saying, oh, we want to give people health care. We want to give them things. And that takes away from any kind of a work ethic that founded this nation.
Well, and the Democrats aren't about prosperity or independence. They're about dependency and poverty. And we see this with the growth of Medicaid. This is what really Obamacare gave us, was a huge expansion of Medicaid, that by 2025, if we continue this course, 1/3 of our country will be on Medicaid. The Democrat solution to fixing Obamacare, the big government disaster that it is, by taking over 1/6 the economy, is to double down on the expansion of government and go all single payer, which is basically Medicaid for all. And so when you look at California, for example, and I fled from California and I live in Nevada now, there are 60% of Californians that are on government aid. That is not sustainable, but that is what happens when you grow your welfare state by allowing just massive open borders of uneducated and unable working adults to cross the border and go on welfare immediately. And then what you have is you have a generation of poverty that's been established right away. Once someone collects a government check, it's hard for them to stop, and it's hard for them not to pass that down along the future generations. The statistics show that if a child is born into poverty, there is an 85% chance he will remain in poverty in adulthood. And so Donald Trump said last night on the stage that they are going to put in a no welfare requirement for any immigrants for a minimum of 5 years, and that will definitely help. But the economy, when it starts running again, will also reduce the amount of people on Medicaid, which we have to do. Otherwise, we are going to have 1/3 of this country in poverty for generations.
Well, Megan, when you say that 1/3 or 110 million people in round figures, whatever it might be, I have stated on my program for a long time, I think I said it to you the last time you were on my show, that I am absolutely adamant that we need a case-by-case study of everybody on a city, county, state level that's on Medicaid, and you have to wean off the deadbeats and make them be responsible for their own health care.
Yeah, well, and one of the reasons why Medicaid was expanded was, number one, employers were not offering full-time jobs. They were offering part-time jobs. So people weren't, and that was due to Obamacare. So many people got kicked off their full-time jobs, like Starbucks workers, for example, able-bodied adults. But Howard Schultz, the liberal that he is, didn't want to pay for the liberal solutions that the Democrat Party forced upon his business. And so he slashed everyone's full-time jobs to part-time jobs. So we have a majority of people with part-time jobs not making enough money, many people working multiple part-time jobs that wouldn't allow them to get Medicaid because they're making too much money. We have a growth in immigrants that have been dumped onto Medicaid. And so, yes, there needs to be Medicaid reform, but there needs to be economic reform. And this, I believe, this economic reform will then force people off of Medicaid and into employers' insurance if they're able-bodied. And Medicaid isn't health care, but that's what Democrats want to give us. They want to do Medicaid for all. They call it Medicare for all, but really, what's the difference? It's another government-run program which is inherent with fraud and riddled with fraud. And so we definitely need, your idea is not a bad idea. I just don't see it as an idea that's going to be necessarily driven by those in Washington, D.C. because of the amount of people on a government program.
Yeah.
You can audit top-down something like what Ben Carson did with HUD.
You know, one thing I think that we have to lay blame on both sides of the aisle. I think you'll agree with me that it's great to sit here and condemn the Democrats and their wishy-washy liberal policies of giveaway, but we also need to condemn the other side of the aisle for Republicans not having a backbone to jump up and say, hey, we own the House, we own the Senate, we have the Oval Office, we're going to lead, get out of the way, or we'll step over you. That's not an attitude that's being pervaded by the Republicans.
Correct. And this is when I think one of the best results of the Donald Trump presidency is that he exposed Republicans who are voting like Democrats and growing poverty like Democrats. And those, I would say, are the moderates, like the Lisa Murkowski's, the Susan Collins, the Dean Hellers of Nevada, my senator here. They ran as conservatives because moderates lose elections. Conservative messages win elections. So they betrayed the base. They betrayed the Republican Party or the principles of it. But the Republican Party was damaged a long time before this year, and Trump exposed just how damaged it is. We have leaders in Washington in the Republican Party who are acting like big government Democrats and have given us big government solutions to problems and have only created bigger problems. So, you know, we gave them the House, we gave them the Senate, we gave them the presidency. Now, Donald Trump is exposing those who truly aren't Republicans. They're just there for the party.
Yeah.
And what I mean, the party of power.
Yep.
They're just there to go along to get along.
I totally agree with you. You know, I said last hour to another guest from Indiana that I had on my program that I boastfully said, and I'm going to stand behind it, that if you put me in the power of position to where I could sit in an office with the powers that be with healthcare, I said in a week's time, I think I could have this whole thing figured out so that it would be amenable to everybody. I don't think this healthcare program is that hard to try to sit down and iron out. Am I wrong?
Well, I don't think it's that hard to iron out, but the resistance really is coming from the moderate Democrats.
That's right.
Moderate Republicans who want to keep the expansion of Medicaid.
Yep.
And we have plenty of Republican governors and Republican senators that are supporting that expansion. So it shouldn't be that hard. You know, introducing the free market, I just thought was something inherently Republican. But I'm learning my lesson pretty quickly, that the GOP doesn't seem like it wants to embrace the free market in order to drive competition, to drive premiums down. It seems like many in the GOP, and I would say the establishment GOP, want to bribe or pay bribes to the insurance lobby. And so what we need is a full repeal of Obamacare, every single last piece of it. I believe that we can keep pre-existing conditions fine, but we need to spur competition amongst the insurance companies, whereby if I lived in California, which I did, I was forced to pay in my insurance premium, I was forced to pay for services I would never use, and that was a sex change operation, that was acupuncture and chiropractic. Why should I have to pay for someone else's sex change operation?
Absolutely.
Because really that's what I'm doing, because my premiums were so expensive, because I had to cover so many things that I would never use or need to be insured for. So this is how the insurance companies and the mandates of states have really monopolized the pools and prices of insurance. There needs to be a free market solution to health care. We have not even entertained the free market in decades. For example, I'm having surgery in a few weeks. I have to go get blood tests, to make sure that I'm okay. If I pay cash for my blood test, it is half the cost, unless I pay with insurance. Then the cost is doubled. So what does that tell you?
Mm-hmm.
That tells you it's much more expensive outside of the free market because of all of the mandates and the paperwork and all the onus that is put on the providers.
Megan, I want to switch gears, and I've only got a couple of minutes left here, and I wish you well for that surgery, by the way. I want to, if I could, just throw up one other topic for you to discuss, and I think it's a very serious topic, and that's the kind of the rift going on between the Oval Office, President Trump, and the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions. Give us your thoughts quickly.
Well, I was up very early the other morning, and of course I always check Donald Trump's Twitter account, and when I saw him throw, some more shade at Jeff Sessions, I was not happy. I don't think that we need this noise right now. There is plenty going on. We don't need to be privy to any infighting that might be going on. And so I'm not supportive in Trump's latest I'll say a loose attack on Jeff Sessions, calling him beleaguered and weak. We simply don't need that. He doesn't need any more what I would call controversy surrounding his presidency. He could have just kept that within his four walls. But I tend to think, and I was talking to a friend of mine who's been in politics for a long time, worked on the Hill, I tend to think that this is kind of part of a plan. And I know it's weird to say or to hear, but we need to get rid of Mueller. And the only one really standing in the way of getting rid of Mueller is Sessions. And so for the good of the country, Sessions might know what's going on. He might not. I just don't know. I just find it very interesting that Donald Trump would publicly air his grievances with Sessions, and after being so close to Sessions, the entire campaign trail.
Right. I agree. I wished I had more time because this lady is absolutely sharp. And this is Megan Barth, the founder and proprietor of ReaganBabe.com and a nationally recognized political commentator and women's advocate, and she is good. Thank you so much, Megan. Come back soon. God bless, and I hope all goes well.
Oh, thank you so much, Zeb. Anytime. You have a great week.
Thank you very much. Nice lady right there, and extremely knowledgeable about what's going on in politics today, Megan Barth, and we'll have her back for sure. I want to remind you, oh my goodness, hold on, I just dropped all these papers into a pile here. The Minidoka County Fair and Rodeo. Holy moly, July 31st through August 5th. Country Pride County-wide. I love that. And believe me, they're going to have a lot of fun starting on the 31st with the lawnmower races. Oh, baby, look out. That's fun. And then on August 1st, they're going to have the Tiny Tot Gymkhana. And then, of course, don't forget, Wednesday, August 2nd, they're going to have the Antique Engine Show at noon. And then that night at 5:30, oh, boy, the Lions Club Barbecue at 5:30. All you can eat and eat. It is going to be good. Woo! And then on Thursday, Junior Rodeo. Friday and Saturday, Open Rodeo on the 4th and 5th. By the way, that leads me right up to say that entries for the Minidoka Rodeo are going to be taken starting tonight at 6 p.m., and you need to call Kathy Lom, the rodeo secretary, at 654-2462. That number again, 654-2462, and those are for the entries that will be starting tonight at 6 p.m. for the Minidoka Open Rodeo. All kinds of fun at the Minidoka County Fair and Rodeo. And again, Country Pride countywide, July 31st through the 5th. It is going to be fun. You be sure and be there. Okay, coming up after our break in just a few moments, we're going to have Larry Pratt with the Gun Owners of America. We're going to be talking to him about quite a few different subjects. And tomorrow on the program, I wanted to remind you that we have our business salute. We've got our Chamber of Commerce report. We've got Rita Ramsey on the program. We got a whole bunch, a full plate tomorrow on Thursday. Right now, let's send it back over to our main studios, and Wheels will have it for about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
And welcome back to our last half-hour segment. And with us on the segment this hour is a gentleman that's a political analyst and executive director of the Gun Owners of America, Larry Pratt. Larry, good morning. Nice to have you back on the program.
Good to be with you. Thanks so much for having me.
You know, Larry, just earlier this morning we were talking about, oh my goodness, no, don't tell me that Maxine Waters might run for the presidency in 2020. And now I hear that it might even be Eric Holder. Please stop the onslaught of all this negative news, Larry.
Well, let me put it this way. Uncle Remus, don't throw me in that briar patch. If they run, and if they were the nominees, I think it would be much more likely that almost any Republican is going to win that election.
Well, you know what?
They are so full of themselves. They may, because they do tend to kind of live in a beltway bubble, and they may think rather more highly of themselves than they ought. And so if they really think they're presidential material, go for it.
You know, Larry, let me ask you this, though. Why hasn't somebody put a mirror in front of the Chuck Schumers and the others of the Democratic Party and just let them see how stupid they are with these kind of people? I mean, Maxine Waters, one of the foul-mouthed racists in the party, and Eric Holder with so many skeletons in his closet he ought to open up a bone shop. I mean, this is terrible.
Yeah, no, they don't really, I don't think they're able to see themselves the way other people do, and maybe they're not capable of doing it, because what they see is as much in their mind as it would be in a mirror, and I don't think we've got, I just don't think they present a great problem. I think they're an opportunity. Now, of course, when we're talking about Republicans running against them, you have to admit, Republicans can mess up almost anything. But I don't think that would be the case here. I think this would be a gift that any Republican, maybe even a Mitt Romney, maybe not John McCain, because he's kind of an apologetic sort of guy, and sorry he's a Republican. But most Republicans would be able to take somebody like that Maxine Waters, and who has said so many outrageous things, and I think that'd finish them off.
You know, Larry, let's be fair here on the program and look at the other side of the aisle. I said this last half hour with the guest that I had on, that the Republicans absolutely have been handed the House, they've been handed the Senate, they've been handed the Oval Office, and they, the Republicans, without any kind of a backbone or, quite frankly, a lot of common sense, they are blowing an opportunity that they may lose.
Yeah, I don't think that's unfair at all, and I'm not sure in their bubble they see that. The word feckless is in the dictionary. It's a fairly common word, really, and I think it describes the Republicans. Some people choose to use the word spineless, but feckless is perhaps a bit more broad a term and suggests no purpose at all, just kind of blob there, taking up space. But no, I agree with your assessment. Here they've been given the levers of political control in Washington, and they can't even get their act together to get rid of Obamacare, which, by the way, is something that Gun Owners of America has been championing its abolition, because we saw from the get-go that this government, given that power, be it Republican or Democrat, the bureaucrats are just so likely to go and start abusing that information. And they went and did exactly what we had said was our concern, namely they're using any excuse whatsoever, such as post-traumatic stress disorder, to keep people from having a gun. Well, I personally know a veteran. In fact, I owe him something because he liberated he was part of a group of special forces that liberated my wife's homeland in Panama. He had PTSD, and he described it as something that he would all of a sudden wake up in the middle of the night, grab his pistol, which he had nearby, which I think many people do, and he would go and hunker down in the corner of the room and kind of cover the room, if you will, sweep the room, make sure the bad guys really weren't there. And once he realized, nope, I was just having another bad dream, put his pistol back, go back to sleep, everything's okay. Never pulled the trigger. He's a well-trained guy, let's face it. He's not likely to do something really stupid with his gun. Put it back where it belonged, next to him on the nightstand, I guess, and went back to sleep. Everything was fine. Now, had that diagnosis been entered later on in our time, because he suffered this some time ago, and happily it didn't seem to catch up to his records, and it never got sent over to the Justice Department, and so it never became a predicate for denying him the purchase or ownership of a gun. He was okay. But other guys who had the same kind of symptoms later on, closer to where we are today, they get the short end of the stick. And that's why we opposed Obamacare, because we saw that bureaucrats here in Washington that just don't think that average people ought to be walking around with guns were going to use this as an opportunity to keep average people from buying and having guns. We even have had members contact us that they had that famous, infamous, much feared knock on the door. Hey, we see that you've got a disqualifying medical diagnosis. Hand over your guns, soldier.
Yeah, Larry, let me ask you this, Larry, in accordance with what you were just talking about. It's not just the soldiers, but you know as better than anybody with the Gun Owners of America and what you do for a living every day, that there is kind of an assault on our freedoms with the elderly owning guns and how to protect ourselves.
The same trick with Social Security and veterans recipients. They've used the same kinds of tactics on them. Some 250,000 veterans have had their guns literally taken away. And this can happen to a cop who's been in a shootout or something like that, or a firefighter that barely escapes a collapsing, burning building. lots of ways you can end up with PTSD, and it doesn't make you a threat to anybody, not even yourself.
Larry, my biggest concern is I live in a rural area, a very rural area. And, when you call the police or call 911, it's absolutely not possible for them to be here in 15, 20, maybe even 30 minutes or even more. You have to be, as the homeowner, the first line of defense.
The car might be at 3 in the morning.
That's right.
You're absolutely right. It could take a long time.
And the point I'm trying to make is I urge people to be private owners of their guns to protect themselves, their family, and their property, but there's a major movement on the left to make us out the bad guys and be the hate mongers.
Oh, indeed. They've never been happy with the idea that average people can have a gun and can be, well, in fact, Idaho now, you don't even need a permit, happily,
That's
to
right.
carry concealed.
That's right.
And that drives some people on the left nuts. And when I've had a chance to discuss this issue with some of them, I point out that one of the biggie reasons why they shouldn't be afraid of people with guns, in fact, they ought to be afraid of being in a place where guns are prohibited, like a gun-free zone, quote-unquote, where only the bad guy ends up having a gun,
right,
is that since 1950 in our country, all but 4 of the mass murders have occurred in what was legally a gun-free zone. So the good guys are disarmed, bad guy comes in and starts laying up bodies like cordwood. Just absolutely outrageous that we still have one gun-free zone left on the books, and there's a lot of schools that are hit with that, as well as sometimes a mall, sometimes a church, and that's where the trouble has come in the past, and that's why I think when we present that to people, if they think in a linear, logical fashion, they're going to say, oh, that's a pretty significant set of data. But if you're talking to somebody who answers more or less as follows, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I just don't feel safe knowing that somebody might be in the same room, same restaurant, same church, whatever, with a gun. They don't feel versus what they can actually know for a fact from what has happened in the past. So logic and facts don't seem to sway them nearly the way their feelings do. And logic and facts really kind of bounce off feelings. People that think with their feelings predominantly are going to be very hard to reason with. Because by definition, they don't reason.
Absolutely. Larry, with the voting for Donald Trump and his appointments to the Supreme Court, are you more comfortable than you were a year ago about our Second Amendment?
Yeah, definitely. Neil Gorsuch has already turned out to be a very good justice. There was a decision not too long ago where he and Clarence Thomas wrote a joint opinion dissenting from some of what the rest of the court was ruling. Clarence Thomas right now, with the passing of Justice Scalia, is really the gold standard of a constitutional conservative on the court. And for Neil Gorsuch to have ruled with Clarence Thomas on the short end of a stick, I think the ruling was actually 7-2. The ruling itself wasn't encouraging, but the fact that Gorsuch concurred with Thomas means that we now have, hopefully, a rather dynamic duo, and both of them are relatively young. Certainly Gorsuch, I don't think he's somewhere in his early 50s, I believe, so he conceivably could be there for another 20, 30 years. And Thomas is not exactly the ancient of days himself. So we've got a beachhead on that court. We've got a shifting number of justices that rule this way and that, kind of whichever way, who knows what wind is blowing. But these two men, I think, are fairly persuasive, and I'm kind of hopeful that they're going to be there a long time and have an impact. And if, for instance, Justice Ginsburg is no longer able to continue, and she sometimes actually nods off during oral arguments. When the attorneys are right there underneath where she's sitting with the other judges, and she nods off. That's not a good sign, and she may not be there that much longer. Nobody knows, and I'm not wishing her early demise, but I'm just observing that she appears to be increasingly frail. Kennedy, I believe, is the one who has said that he wants to be replaced by a Republican president. Well, pretty much this would be the time, Guy. You want to make sure, while they still have that Republican Senate, that if you're going to create a vacancy voluntarily, do it now so that Mr. Trump has the opportunity to hopefully get that person through a Republican Senate. And I'm not sure the Republicans are going to keep the Senate at the rate they're going with, to use the word we explored a minute ago, their fecklessness.
Larry,
They're driving their base crazy.
Absolutely.
They send you guys there to act like you're scaredy cats and run away from your own shadow. Here, it has been, let's just look at the Congress. It has been since the January opening bell, mid-January, when a bill was put in to make it so that your driver's license in Idaho would mean that you could be with a concealed carry firearm in San Francisco or in Chicago or any number of other anti-gun meccas where they don't want people carrying concealed, and you could do that because of your situation as an Idaho driver's license, and I think you may have the option of getting an Idaho carry permit, but you don't need it in many states that recognize what we call constitutional carry.
Absolutely.
That's on the move, and yet the Republicans who have the votes in the House haven't done anything, even weeks after Congressman Scalise was just about murdered because the D.C. gun laws set the table for him coming to work unarmed. Even though he'd been in Alexandria where he was shot, Alexandria, Virginia, he had to go right across the river, and all the others with him, to work in the Capitol where they can't have a gun legally. And so Congressman Scalise and everybody else was unarmed, and the dirtbag had minutes to fire and reload and fire and reload. It's only by the grace of God that he was a lousy shot.
Absolutely.
There weren't a lot of people actually killed. And the D.C. gun law set the table for that. The bill in the Congress would eliminate the ability of jurisdictions like the District of Columbia from governing what other jurisdictions had. The National Concealed Carry Law, the recognition bill that says you got to recognize the other states' driver's license and/or concealed carry permit. Had that been in effect, had they enacted that back in January or February,
right,
Trump has said he would sign it. Well, then it's very likely that the dirtbag might have gotten off the first shot or two, but then he could have very well have been subjected to a hail of return fire, and knowing that, he might not have picked that place and that day to do what he did.
Absolutely. Larry, let me set up this last question for you. Bear with me for about 30 seconds. But I have maintained that cities like Chicago, with Rahm Emanuel as the mayor, I honestly think they're absolutely trying to melt down the situation in Chicago and use it for their political gain on a leftist liberal attitude with all the gun violence so that they can say we've got to do away with all guns. What about the situation in Chicago and mayors like Emanuel?
Well, I think you probably accurately described their thinking, although increasingly they don't want to talk that way because they realize that the country has shifted to a more pro-Second Amendment, pro-individual gun owner and gun carry position and acceptance. So Emanuel is fighting a rearguard action, and I guess he's hoping that his little island of gun control somehow will remain an island. But again, if we get this bill through the Congress and the fecklessness of the Republican leadership finally is prevailed upon to get it moving, then Rahm Emanuel can have whatever thoughts he chooses about average people carrying a gun. One of the features of the House bill is that even if you can't get a concealed carry permit in Chicago or Illinois, you'd be able to get one from Florida or Utah, and that would enable you to carry in Chicago, even if you live there and are subjected to their oppressive laws. You have the ability to escape that under this federal measure that's still waiting to be approved, even after one of their own was almost killed. You talk about feckless. Wow.
Yeah. Larry, I just wished I had more time. I really appreciate the fact that you take the time to come on our program. Political analyst and executive director of Gun Owners of America, Larry Pratt. God bless you, man. I'll have you back in the future. Thank you so much.
And in the meantime, let me urge people to go to gunowners.org and get on our free email list. That's the way they'll know what's happening.
Absolutely. Thank you, Larry. Appreciate it.
Appreciate being with you.
All right. Thank you, sir. Larry Pratt, Gun Owners of America. I really enjoy having him on the air, and you see him all the time on television, etc. I really thank him for being on the program. Right now it's time for the weather forecast. Scarrows Meats. Our sponsor of the weather this hour, 331 North Road, Jerome. Number to call, 324-7657. Or you can go to their website and find out more, scarrowsmeats.com. All the delicious meats. The retail meat department over there, oh my goodness, from the bacons to the breakfast sausage to the tri-tips, oh, the prime rib. You got to get over there. You've got to try the best, and that's Scarrows Meats in Jerome. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Here's your weather forecast as we kick off another work day, and we are looking at partly cloudy skies for today, and rain showers and thunderstorms are going to be in the forecast. That's going to be kind of the mantra for today and for tomorrow. High of 85 for today is what we're looking at tonight. More rain showers, thunderstorms in the forecast with a low of 58. Tomorrow, pretty much the same thing with a high of 83. And as we get on into Friday, mostly sunny skies, getting up to 90. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
She does a great job. Thank you, Gina. And don't forget all the delicious meats at Don Scarrow and the crew, Scarrow's Meats over in Jerome. I'm talking about, I love bratwurst, and you've got to try their brats. Nothing better than a bratwurst after a hard day of work. Ew, I love that stuff. You're going to find it all with their, like I said, retail meats over at Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Number to call, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Yesterday Wheels was so nice, and he helped fill in for a couple of extra minutes because I had to run to a meeting, and I got to do the same thing today, Wheels. So could you help me out a few minutes? I'll finish my next ad, and then if you could help me, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I can add a couple songs, and then that way you can head out, and then the time will be filled.
You're a good man, McGee, even though, well, we won't get into that. I am glad you got your car from underneath the trailer this morning, fella.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, it took a little upper body strength, but I got it done, and I came to work, so I was happy.
All right, well, so am I, because if you wouldn't have showed up, you wouldn't have been happy, I'll tell you that. Hey, don't forget, get where you're going this summer, and that's, of course, with the best of tires from your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. You know, whether you're talking about pickup and SUV tires like the Backcountry Touring HT or the TerraMax HT, all these tires absolutely with the best of tread designs and, of course, for your driving conditions. You stop in and check it out today at all 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And don't forget to ask about a free pre-trip safety check, visual inspection of your tires, including the air pressure, wheel alignment for tire wear, front-end components, brake components, make sure everything's A-OK, shocks and struts, battery, including a load test. They want you to get where you're going this summer and then come safely home. Absolutely. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Tomorrow, Thursday, got a lot of things going on, including the livestock report from Burley Livestock and, of course, our business salute. And we're going to be talking to Nick Greenwell over at Burley Physical Therapy. A lot of interesting local guests and national, so stay tuned. Tomorrow morning at 8:06, we'll ride the horse for 3 hours right here on Zeb at the Ranch on KBAR, Burley, 12:30 a.m., and then live on the internet all over the world, ZebBell.com, where we always say to you, the way things were are the way things ought to be. I got to run to a meeting. Wheels, old buddy, we'll see you tomorrow morning. Take it away.